Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, musician Christina Martin. She's a songsmith hailing from the east coast of Canada. She's got incredible albums, music videos, show dates, and so much more. Let's dig into it and get started with Christina Martin. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about. And it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. I get it wrong every time. It's 50-50, but I still get it wrong most of the time. Today's guest is a phenomenal musician, songwriter, songsmith. There's many titles. And of course, she comes from the East Coast. We have the very brilliant and busy and experienced and amazing Christina Martin. How are you, Christina?
Oh, Warren, I'm doing great. You're so kind.
Well, I've been digging in, and there's really not enough adjectives to get into because, yeah, you've done amazing things, and I want everyone to learn about you, I think, if they haven't already. So, first things first, you have a podcast of your own.
I do. It's called A Chat with Heart. And it's kind of like, I feel like it's just how this is going to go, like a chat with her. Although I bet you have it sounds like you might have some questions because you said you did some research today. And mine started out with like I was so nervous and like I still prepare for them, but it became like it caused a lot of anxiety for me. So then I kind of was like, wait a second, this is supposed to be a chat with Heart. I think I can just, make my 5-page notes into like one and then the rest of it just kind of chat with Heart. That's the whole point. And so it's a lot more relaxed now, but I feel like this is going to be an easy chat with Heart with you too.
Yeah, All Worn Out is pretty much, I'm a musician who is a little bit tired. I've been going pretty hard for 7 or 8 years, and I just thought it was funny. I'm taking a little break to appreciate all the amazing artists that are around me, that I've worked with, that I'm connected to. Sean Sisk sent a message. He says, thank you for the signed LP. So that's from Sean Sisk, and he says he's going to get back at you soon. So he was the one who hooked me up with Christina, or told me, you need to go ask Christina to be on your podcast.
What a sweetheart. Sean took some brilliant photos when we played the RBC Blues Fest opening for the Killers, which was like a dream job scenario for me. We had worked so hard, and I remember writing in a grant that I had hoped to one day, meet the manager of the Killers. Well, I didn't get to meet the manager, but we did. We were on that lineup on the main stage in 2019 with the Psychedelic Furs, James, and the Killers. And I remember just the production was so awesome, and the whole day was just so pro and smooth. Like their team was just incredible, and we felt ready, and we really enjoyed ourselves. And anyway, Sean was there to capture it, and so I thank him because I think music photographers a lot of the times, they're not like making what they should be making money wise, and like artists are not exactly the greatest at like offering money for those things, because it is a struggle and whatnot. And so yeah, bless his we probably can't curse on this, right?
Oh, sure we can. Of course.
Bless his fucking heart.
Yeah, nothing's monetized here. I mean, we're just having fun on YouTube, and yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
cool, good. You can monetize cursing, though, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one day. I'm sure I will. I mean, the thing with Sean is, last year I did Blues Fest for the first time, and I did not get to open for. Thank you. I did not get to open for the Killers, though. I mean, I was very privileged. I did get to open for some very excellent blues veterans who had a lot of skill, and I just loved watching them. So, yeah, I was still privileged to be a part of it. And that's kind of how I met Sean, too. And yeah, it's a fantastic experience. I mean, you, however, have been in many festivals. I mean, I was going down the list of festivals that you've been in. Was Blues Fest, how did it compare to some of the others?
Well, it was like a world-class festival. I mean, it's funny you say that from your perspective, because I feel like I've not done a lot of festivals. I feel like I've applied to many and not been selected, and I keep hoping, and we hope next year will be busy. But I've actually, for a lot of my career, I feel like a lot of people didn't know where to put me, because my music isn't necessarily fit into one box, or maybe I wasn't ready. I don't really know, and I don't know, but you kind of start to feel like, well, am I not good enough? And then I just kept chipping away at my dream, and like reaching for this live show and just doing my best. And eventually people like, Mark, who books, the festival and runs the festival, came to an ECMA, East Coast Music Awards showcase, and there weren't many people there, but he was there and he got it and was like, "Oh, I think I have a gig for you." So like, but, all that to say, we played a festival this summer called Blueberry Jam. Now, it may not have like the number of people attending, or not run. It's like a 2-day festival in Mabu, Cape Breton. And I mean, it's funny. Like, we love playing Blues Fest, and it was great, and we got to see the Killers and everything. But I got to say, like, playing this Blueberry Jam festival was like electric, and the audience was right there. It was, and smaller by scale, at this point, but had, if not just as much fun, more fun at Blueberry Jam Fest. And so I think it doesn't matter about size, and maybe even who's playing on the lineup. Like, I think that was one of our best performances at the Blueberry Jam Festival this summer, because we were ready for it, and not nervous, and we had fun.
Absolutely. I had a lot of fun when I was at Go North in Richards Landing, and it was a smaller festival, but again, the same thing where it's like it's intimate and kind of get to hang out with people more, and it's a different experience, right? Music brings us to all these cool, incredible experiences that they're similar, but they're always a little different.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to ask you, you have 10 catalogs, 10 albums in your catalog. And I was going through the music, I was going through it, I was trying to get into it as much as I possibly could. And I'll tell you what, then I got to the music video for 2023 Little Princess, and I was like, what the hell? What is going on? I'm like, what is going on here? Christina Martin is in space.
In space, yeah, it's true. It's true. So, well, like, I can't do a music video by myself, and I really do try to pick the right folks to work. I've been so, I guess, blessed in a way, to get to work with some of these video directors, and that was a video that we did with Brendan Henry, who's on Prince Edward Island. And Brendan, I worked on 3 music videos for this latest album, Storm, with Brendan, and he just knocked it out of into outer space, obviously. But for that particular video, Brendan didn't know how to use the technology yet. He just said, I'm investing in these performance capture suits. And he got like a small for me. And he's like, are you up for this? And I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to do something weird, and that just something I've never done before. And I trusted him, and at times I was afraid, but the results was phenomenal. So yeah, that video, it features me in outer space, a version of me, or we'll say LP, Little Princess. And then it also features me in my actual home, down on Earth. But that was Brendan Henry. Like, and we had green screen in our house and whatnot. I hate to spoil all the secrets, but just find people out there that like are doing this. Like, I mean, I had a lot of support too for that. I had Factor support for that, funding and provincial funding, Music Nova Scotia investment. I live in the province of Nova Scotia. So it's a lot of work to do, to pull all the videos and the funding together. And then to launch and execute these things, like, it's like so time consuming, as Warren. It takes you away from the things you also really love, which are writing songs and and
Mm.
things. But whatever, I'm getting back to that now, so it's good.
Well, I mean, I watched the ABBA video, and I was almost like crying. That's so well done. The vocals and like everything, like your wind struck, and it's great. Like I think all your videos are really fun, and I personally am a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of people being able to dive into people's art and really invest in it and enjoy it and have visual memories.
Mhm.
I've never got to do a motion capture shoot. That sounds so fascinating. But for our 5 or 6 videos, we always went with the same guy. And it was because, again, I tell the story, like I take him on a wild journey because I find a location that I'm really excited about. And then my mind just writes a story. So I'll
Mhm.
take him around and I'll say, listen, that guy on the dirt bike, it needs to go right through that guy in the rabbit suit. Okay. And then the rabbit, he disappears. He goes poof, he's gone. And then I want him to reappear behind the guy on the dirt bike and smash him in the back of the head. Can
I
you do
love
that,
it.
Dom? And he was like, yeah, no
Like,
problem. And
and
I'm like, you're my guy. You're my guy.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
totally get it when you're like, it's you, but it's not you. Like it's your work, but
yeah,
there's also this other creative force with you who is so cool as well, and they bring their skill set.
yeah, yeah. You sound like a visionary kind of guy too. But do you remember growing up? And I don't know how old you are, Warren, but when I was young, all we had was, well, the radio and music videos, really. I mean, that's how we fell in love with. And I remember watching MTV and recording on VHS tapes like these iconic video performances that, some of them maybe now when you look at them and go, that's kind of silly. And some of them were just ahead of their time. But, um, those artists stuck with me. And I remember thinking, I wish I could make music videos. I wish I could be in a music video, and I still think they're so fun. And they've also helped me explore, like, how do I want to present myself? How do I want to move my body? Like they were kind of lessons for me and
Mm.
um in getting in touch with, yeah, my body and
How
how
do
to
you want to
move. And
visually present
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Wow,
big,
that's fascinating.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So going back in time to the very beginning, I guess you're born in Nova Scotia.
Actually, I was born in Florida. Born in
Oh.
Florida, and my parents are from New Brunswick. And within my first year, they had actually moved back to New Brunswick. So I was raised in the province of New Brunswick in different places. And then I ended up in Nova Scotia, but I had to move around a bit. Yeah.
Well, all cool places. And I guess since you were born in Florida, that means you can run for the presidency, I think. Which, I
Well,
mean,
yeah, it does
you
mean
should
that I
just
can
go
do.
for it.
It does mean that I can vote. So I've got my absentee ballot. I've submitted for that. So that's good.
Oh, right on.
But it did, it allowed me
Oh, you
to
can
live
tour
a
there,
more.
right?
I have a little bit, not much, but because we actually find it where my husband tours with me now, and we've been together now for almost 15 years. Um, we actually find it much more rewarding to tour in Europe. And, with the visa fees, like I can go and tour, no problem, but I would have to apply for my husband, and that's just a big nightmare, and it's very expensive. And we like Europe and the UK, and so I've not really made a big investment there. But what it did do for me was when I was 19, I quit university and I went to work as a nanny in Austin, Texas, which I didn't know was the live music capital of the world, and that is where I got my start as a singer songwriter.
So, okay, so were you an au pair or a nanny?
Au pair, but they're
Because
the same thing. Yeah.
my sister was an au pair, and she went to England to do it. She wanted to go to Australia, but my mother cried and cried and cried. And so my sister said, fine, I'll only go that far. And she went to England instead. And she ended up taking care of a child who was in school in class with Paul McCartney's little girl. And so my sister would wait in the waiting room with Paul McCartney every day to pick the child up from school. And so
Oh,
I was just starting out in music at the time. And I was telling my sister all the time, I was like, do you talk to him? Do you ask him anything? She's like, no, that would be unprofessional. And I say, well, come on, you have to do something. And so one day she said, well, Paul talked to me. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, he actually approached me waiting and asked me what my favorite Beatles song was. He says, thank you. I can tell how professional you are, but I want to know what your favorite Beatles song is. And so my sister told him, and then she explained, like, I actually got into you guys because of Across the Universe, the movie. And he was like, that is why we did it. He's like, the whole reason was to like get the another generation of people hooked into these songs in a immersive way.
Wow.
So it's wild, eh? So when I saw that about that, I was like, that's so cool that you went to Austin, Texas and found this musical journey.
Yeah.
But did you sing prior to that? Did you sing in fairs? Did you act in plays growing up? Was there anything where it was hinting it would go this way?
Well, I mean, I took piano lessons, and I remember writing music outside of my lessons, but I never sang in front of my family. I didn't want to even play in front of my family, and then I quit at around age 10. And then when I was a teenager, we started, kind of experimenting with drinking alcohol and whatnot. I would sing with my friends, and they would say, you can sing. And I was like, I had no, I didn't know. I liked singing, but I didn't know if I had a good voice because I never did it in front of anyone. So to my drunk friends, I could sing, and it was just a kind of a self-soothing thing otherwise. And then I was in a cover band in high school called Head Rush. And I sang it was a French cover band, but I did like the English songs like Alanis Morissette and Joan Osborne. And fast forward, I did some national anthems in university, probably intoxicated again. Did some open mics, but I had never written a song, and I didn't see that being my future. There was no idea, like, sure, it would be nice, but I wasn't a performer. And when I tried out for plays, and when I was a kid, living in Rothsay at the time, I was not picked for anything. In fact, I had a habit of, thinking I had all the confidence and was going to nail it, and then having, like, really just fucking up, like, royally, not being prepared, not knowing, and panicking for most things. Like, I had to drink to get in front of people and sing national anthems, or like drinking was a part of any time I would sing for a very long time.
You must have felt bad for that girl who got really drunk and sang the American national anthem, and pretty much, boom, her career went down in the matter of moments, right? And she got all the attention for all the wrong reasons. As a pianist, I totally get the whole drinking and performing, especially in the early days. I didn't start singing till my early 20s. Like, I had no idea that and again, friends, thank goodness for friends in our lives who we experience things with, and
who like see something in you that you're
that's right. They
see.
Yeah, because I didn't see it either. And it is a self-soothing thing. I deal with a lot of anxiety. It's always ongoing in a way, but I mean, I think, like you, it sounds like, anyways, with you, that you've found a way forward, that you found a way out of dealing with that singing and having alcohol as a thing there.
Oh, definitely. And I'm sure, like, all the things you're trying in your life, like the personal growth, the homework. I mean, I did suffer from anxiety and early on depression, and didn't, undiagnosed, but
they go hand in hand.
Yeah. I mean, if, I were to tell you my whole life history, probably go, well, you might go, well, no big deal. Or you might go like, oh, no wonder, but obviously there are reasons for these things. But I'm really, now I've just turned 45. I feel mentally and physically stronger than I ever have. But I've done a lot of work to get to this point. And I also don't naively think that I'm in the clear. I think it's like every day I've learned to accept that if I don't take care of myself, and I don't drink at all anymore, but I dabble in, sometimes I'll smoke with my friends, or have they call me two-toke Tina. So like, I'm a lightweight, but, but if I sense that it's affecting my mood the next day, I certainly like, I'll take a break for 5 months but I did start this year. I don't know if if you feel comfortable talking about this, but if you can relate to, like, I started for the first time in my life, SSRI in February, and I wish I'd started it 25 years ago. I've been the most consistent mood wise, and um, I am able to I just get up and I get to work and I do and I'm able to let go of things. And I got to say, I've been through some terrifying, like, risk taking jumps with my work this recently. And I,
Mm.
I handled it better internally than I have ever, in the past. So I feel like I'm a walking, promotion for SSRIs here, and there's so many of them too. You got to find the right one, but like, it's really helped me. And then good friends have helped me. Exercise helps me sleep. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you have to do the exercise and the sleep thing with the SSRIs. It's like my doctor told me years ago. It's like, this is going to do part of the battle. This is going to
right.
do a really good portion of this battle for you, and then you're going to have to support it. At least go for walks, at least give yourself some kind of physical activity. And I found right away with it for myself personally, it helped me wake up again on a regular schedule, which was kind of so bizarre to me because I've always been a person who would try and sleep through the entire day. If I was a kid, I would try and escape, like, not only a little bit, I'd try and escape like the whole thing as a kid sometimes. So yeah, so I mean, it definitely, I'm on a combo, and I find that they work good together. But I wasn't convinced when the second one was offered to me. I was like, no, I think I'm fine. And then they were like, no, like, they go together. Like, just try it. And I think it's good because I don't know, this podcast has kind of shown me a consistency as well. Like, I had to slow down with my music. I'm in a band. I have, and it's a shared band. I've never ever been like the Warren Meredith band. And so it's a shared thing. So when one or two band members are like, we need to slow down, I have to. And and also I respect them and love them. And we pushed really, really hard for like 7, 8 years and did things that I'm just so proud of as a group, as five dudes. And so I'm not upset or anything, but then I was like, I need to do this podcast to keep my mind focused and stay forward in this world, because I'm not done. I'm just gonna jam again on Thursday. So for the first time in like 3 months, I'm got butterflies. I'm like, this is bizarre.
Oh, that's good though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is a good thing. Which is the thing about anxiety and performance. Some of that anxiety helps us, and it's like makes us sharp on stage. And I always tell everybody, like, I was a chess champion, when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that wasn't
Wow.
because I was super smart. It was because I had a lot of anxiety and I was
Uh-huh.
afraid of messing up. And
Interesting.
so it's our superpower. Anxiety is our
Mm-hmm.
superpower. It allows us to run around on stage and not forget things or all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. But at the same time, God, it's annoying. And when it gets
Yes, it can be. It can
overbearing,
be.
it's like, just
And
that's
yeah.
not.
Well, I wanted to get rid of the unnecessary anxiety. Yeah, but I like what you said. Like, sometimes, and I talked to a friend, James Mollinger, who's a comedian, another person you should have on here. You two would hit it off. But we talked about, yeah, he'll channel his energy and channels his ADHD, and I think that's kind of, it takes a while maybe to learn how to do that. But do you find, I've found with my own podcast, um, because before the podcast, I don't know, people aren't wanting to talk on the phone as much. I'm still a phone talker. I prefer to than text messaging. And I found it was so great to have these conversations with people. Like, this is great. I'm having a great time, Warren. Like,
Yeah,
So
me
the
too.
connection helps um with mental ailments, and I feel it's not that you can be a very connected person and still experience mental illness, of course. Um, how many times have you heard that? Well, I had no idea that was going on because that person seemed so outgoing and yada yada yada. But I oftentimes people isolate themselves. I don't feel like going out, and then that turns into like weeks, and I'm like, that's not healthy. Like that's there has to be some kind of a balance, whatever it is for you, right? Everyone's can be a little different, but we really do need each other, some kind of support group. And I think it's also important to feel like you're contributing to something. Not
Mm,
maybe, you know what I mean? Like, not
mm,
to say people have to run out and volunteer and stuff like that, but like, is there somebody in your life that, you can just be there for? If not, well, I don't know, it's kind of sad.
No, because I know exactly what you're saying. And for example, we have these people that come out to our shows here in Ottawa, and they come out and they support us. Like when we go to Toronto, when we go to Montreal, when we go to Kingston, they'll show up and it blows our mind. And they're called the Road Trip Crew, and they all have matching tattoos, and they all bonded
Mm,
around coming to support like three or four of these bands, one of them being mine, and they would come out and support, three or four of us, show up at Canadian Music Week. I'd be like, you guys are wild. We're going on stage for 25 minutes. Why in the world did you drive 5 hours here? But
that's cool.
they're in love with music. They just love supporting music. There's not a mean or judgmental bone. They just love music. So I
Nice.
yeah, getting into that type of a community, finding people who love the things you love, of course, it
Yeah.
definitely helps. And the only time I found on this where my past traumas like came out and like took over the podcast for 15 minutes was when I was doing an interview with John Ryu, and he brought alcohol. He brought some shots for us to do, some Fireball. And
Like
after
in person.
Oh yeah, I do. I love doing
Oh
the in person
yeah.
here, right? So he brought the Fireball out, and of course I had a few shots with him. But with the medication, it's not a good idea. And so within whatever amount of time, I was blabbering about my trauma, and then the
Mhm.
next thing you know, you're apologizing because it's under wraps. We work really hard. I mean, I've gone to the PTSD stuff and all that, and you work hard to
Mhm.
overcome things. And then again, yeah, alcohol can re-trigger. Substances can like re-trigger you so
Yeah.
fast, I find.
I used to be a Fireball, basically a promoter or a Jägermeister. But I know, I mean, I stopped for a number of reasons, but one of them was like, I noticed that they were, uh, triggering so many negative emotions and I had to learn how to deal with that stuff sober. But I also was like, maybe though, no matter what, if I drink this, if I drink, it's unexpected what will happen. And I just don't want to put anyone else through that, let alone myself, because it is poisoning yourself, right? To not only have the fireball, but then to then emotionally be, go through a train wreck of, where
Yeah.
it's funny how like, meanwhile you might or may not, but have a, uh, have a microdose of mushrooms or something, and it doesn't do that at all. So it's interesting. And then I start thinking about like, is this because of an allergic reaction that's happening, or am I still plagued with this trauma? Like I thought I had dealt with it,
Oh
it's,
yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah. You think for sure it's like dealt with, they put it away, and then
Mhm.
certain things it'll just come sneaking back out. And before you know it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm blabbering and I'm blubbering, and oh my goodness, not no good. I saw that you did 2 years residency in Germany, and that sounds like it would be so incredible.
It was, really incredible, and it really helped us create, like, a base and a fan base, like a home base and a fan base, and, allowed me to build the business relationships, like, with my agent and my publicist and friendships, My friend Kai, who is from Dachau, where we did our residency, um, he would say, the best way to prevent war is international friendships. And I think that's what some politicians at least try to do, is
Yeah.
that's why they visit each other. And, it doesn't always work out, but that's kind of part of the mission, is to maintain peace, right? Um, and so the intention with this community in Dachau, especially, where, I don't know if you know much of the history there, but it was the home of the first um, SS training camp. And they're notoriously known for the camp, the Dachau camp
Wow.
there. And before that horrific period in Dachau's life, Dachau was known as an artist community. Some of the first women that were allowed to study art studied in Dachau, because they weren't allowed to in Munich, just a stone's throw away. And so we were invited. We played a show in Dachau in 2013 or 14, I think. And then we're invited to live there as artists in residence. And we were allowed to tour, encouraged to tour as much as possible. We just kind of, we did some projects, like we made a music video in Dachau and got hired local folks and got the community involved. And we would just we just threw ourselves in the community. We'd go walk every night we were home. We would just walk 40 minutes to the Altstadt, the old town, and go to our favorite restaurant and connect with whoever would want to meet up with us. And then we kept going back, and we brought our band eventually to tour, and we all stayed there and used it as a home base. It was a great opportunity. I think artist residencies, are just fantastic. It's like, going to Vegas, where you can just kind of park your stuff, have a residency in Vegas. And, the touring night after night and not having a home base is really hard on a lot of artists. It's not something I super enjoy. I mean, it just can be it can wear you down, quite a bit. So it was nice to have that place to go back to have like 4 days off, go rest, and then drive, short distances to the shows and whatnot.
Yeah, that's so cool to me personally. It's like a dream thing, And I had a country artist on here, a young country artist on here, and she goes to Nashville and does residency there. Stays at SoCan House for a month at a time, 3 months, whatever, and talks about working in writing circles. What were some of the benefits of performing in Germany or performing in Europe?
Well, we just went with this album Storm for 3 months this last year. It was the first time we went back after the pandemic. And I mean, it allowed us a chance to kind of even just experiment. Like, we had a show with a piano player who wrote charts for me during the pandemic. We'd never met in person, and we were working remotely, and then we met him in person, had rehearsals, and then he played a show with us in Dachau. And we'd never done that before, and then I've been working on the string charts with a wonderful classically trained violinist named Karen Graves. And we had these charts. And so I found this brilliant violinist in Hamburg, based in Hamburg, originally from the United States, who incidentally, but not so incidentally, just played a string of shows with Adele in Munich. And yeah, just an incredible violinist. And she met us in Hamburg, rehearsed, then came to our show in Berlin and played a show with us. And I mean, like, maybe sounds like a no big deal, but like, to me, it was a big deal, because we're so used to just playing with guitars, drums, and bass, and a chance to try things out. I mean, we've made so many friends in Germany, and there's an appreciation for the artists and the art, and you can play more, you can work more. Like, I remember being there, and you're working so much, you're not worried about paying your rent. Everyone's getting paid. You feel like you actually have like a real job, God forbid.
Wow.
And we've had conversations in the past about, I wish we could live here, and because of the work. And people seem to like this, but it's also close to so many other countries. We've been able to tour Poland, Denmark, Netherlands, France, Austria, Switzerland, hop over to the UK and build over there. So, and we've just really appreciated, that they appreciate us coming so far. We're always treated well. And there's always stuff on tour that happens and you're like, well, I guess we shouldn't play there again. But nobody's ever, it's not because, anyone's being mean or anything. It's just that you kind of outgrow certain situations where you're like, I'm striving for something else, like maybe a dressing room or maybe a meal before the show. I mean, God forbid, like, I'd really like a hotel with no bed bugs, this time. If we could just, yeah, but
Oh,
I'd
don't you
say,
love that? Oh, yeah.
yeah,
When you show up and you open the car door of the parking lot of the hotel and there's a syringe right over there. You're like, no,
no, yeah,
put
that's,
that thing in reverse right now and get us out of here.
yeah, or like
Uh,
blood stains and hair
yeah.
still. You're like, okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. This
I'll
is too
sleep in the
far.
van. I'll sleep
I
in the
get
van today.
I get cheap, but I don't need this, you
Yeah.
know? Oh, well, that's so cool. A lot of my friends and people I look up to, they're always in Europe right now. They're always in the UK. The Damn Truth rockers. My producer, his band, The Commoners, they've done like 60 shows or something like that in the UK in the last year or two. Like ridiculous success for them over there comparatively to over here. And I wish I'd known more of that maybe 4 years ago when I had my band and we were spending a lot of money and we went hard at the Canadian music scene. Like we charted on the rock chart here and we did some crazy things, but at the same time, now I'm like, I wish I'd just taken that money and gone to Europe, and maybe I'll still get to, I hope so. I'm going to work towards that. Because I think it's the dream. I think that's the dream. If people are like, what is the musical dream? What's the aspiration? I think you described it because over there you're working, like you said, like it's a job and people are showing up because they just enjoy live music. That's what I've been told anyways. And that there's like people that come out and you don't have to do a whole bunch of advertising. And I don't know. My friends seem to be having a great time over there. That's what I know. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
too bad it's not quite the same here.
yeah, it depends. Like here, I think it's just that we do have, in a country, Germany has like, let's say 84 million
Distance.
people
Yeah.
in a country the size of New Brunswick. So there's
Mhm.
that. They also, their economy is really strong, has been for a while. So there's disposable income. They have so many more venues. They have this long-standing culture investing in the arts and appreciation for it. And it's a little bit harder here, but obviously you could still find the right promoters and venues they just know how to do it right. But I do find that over there's less of a pressure on the artist to promote. It's not that they still would like it for you to have the good social media presence or like photography and, you still want to have all the good stuff, good sounding music. But it's just everyone knows their role and they do the best they can at it. Whereas here, I feel like sometimes I feel like the pressure is on the artist to just do everything and
Mm.
so much of it. Or if they're not just an easy sell, they don't get an opportunity to play. And tickets are hard to sell.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. That's some very good points. I mean, you got to tour Canada with Cuff the Duke. They're a very awesome Canadian band. Did you make some great memories on that?
Well, they are a great band, and I was lucky to have them as my backing band for some of that tour. I think particularly in the East Coast when they came back to where I live. So my husband Dale was in that band, Cup the Duke, and
So cool.
they're great. They're incredible musicians and entertainers. Um, and I think they're back out now, actually playing, maybe promoting a new record too. And I'm really happy to see that. But I know Dale really loved playing with them, and it just they just felt like family to him,
Yeah.
and he enjoyed making records with them. There was never any super drama that I can spill, unfortunately. And believe me, I would. Um, and I remember, no, I don't have any, it was just really lovely to also be like, oftentimes I've been the driver, like going across Canada, either alone or with one other person, and that can get exhausting. We had a van. I was in the van I never had to drive, I don't think. So it was nice to be in the van and seeing the country just like, kind of like, it was pretty chill. It was nice to open because I've done a lot of just headlining shows myself, most of my life. And when people wouldn't give me opportunities, I just was like, well, I'll just do my own thing, just do my own shows. But it was great to open, do a shorter set, and sit and then enjoy watching them. Like, I just felt like it was a nice pace. Like, and
Yeah.
I was done early and they had to play later. But
Yeah.
they were great guys, really sweet, great conversations. Just, yeah.
Like,
Maybe they would say different. Maybe I was the diva on tour who, I don't
I
know,
don't
but
think so. I remember back in maybe 2009, 2010, I don't know, somewhere in that time range, I was just getting into music. I was just starting to try and take it seriously or somewhat seriously. And I remember my good friend Doug Relf, who did radio. He did radio shows here at Ottawa U.
Doug.
Yeah. My good buddy Doug Relf, and he was
Hi, Doug.
one of my earliest supporters, in the Ottawa music scene, and telling me to do shows and this, and he'd say, "Check out Cuff the Duke. Do you know who Cuff the Duke is? If you don't know who they are, you should check out who they are. And they're a great band, and there's lots of cool things to learn." And that's how I learned about them.
Did you
And
know that I knew Doug?
no, I didn't know, but when
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw the connection, I kind of assumed there could be a connection.
He was one of my big supporters in Ottawa. Yes.
See?
Geez. Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
man.
love Doug.
Such a good guy. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I know that he's a big family man now. And years ago, when I was just starting out and trying to figure out how to do anything, because I didn't understand a darn thing, which is part of the reason I wanted to make this podcast, because I thought if there is some band starting out and they do want to learn a couple things, I bet you they could. And so far, I've been having a lot of fun. Like yesterday, we had Mark Sanangelo on, and he's a radio music programmer, DJ for like 6-7 stations out in Sault Ste. Marie, but on the American side. So he was just giving insight into what people are, what stations are looking for, what are their, what's holding them back from just putting on whatever they like, and all those kinds of things. And what I noticed with your career is you have all these fantastic awards. You have fantastic quotes about your music. But when I say awards, I mean East Coast Music Awards and Halifax Music Awards, and really cool ones. Was that an early strategy to go into that and get your music recognized for having some quality that way? Was that an early thought process?
I can't remember the early thought process, but like knowing myself, it was like, well, I mean, I'm a member of this organization. They're here to support me. And I knew that winning an award or having a nomination, that would be good for business. I mean, and then when I ended up winning like my first one, I discovered how fun it was to get up and thank the people who, because it's all your name and your face and everything, but like you can't make a record. Typically you don't make a record alone. I mean, some people do, like maybe Lenny Kravitz or Prince, but I don't. I can't.
Nope, me neither.
No, I don't even want to, right? I mean,
no, hell no. And I make that point all the time on here. There's certain kinds of artists, and they're not like, you can't put yourself beside them. They're too insane on another level of seeing things. And like you said, Prince.
Or wanting to do all the things. I don't want to do all the things. Some things
Me
I've had to
neither.
do, on the business side because I just didn't have, or, I chose to do it because I couldn't find the right person to do, or like didn't have the opportunity, didn't have the management or the team or whatever. So you got to do the stuff you don't like to do. But when it comes to music, I've never put on a big show on they might be my vision or my ideas, but I'm asking for help from, lots of people. And, So
So
what
you
was the
built
point
a
of our story?
so you
Sorry, we
so
digress.
essentially you built an incredible team over the
Uh,
years.
yeah. Oh,
And
yes. So winning awards and
yeah.
those are opportunities like to get up and say, I want to thank.
Mhm.
And I don't know. There's something fun about doing that in front of the industry, and it's been helpful. Um, when you're seeing also, it's been good for my husband. It's people don't always know, well, who played on the record, who produced it, who did this and that, and they hear you play, they see you at these award shows, they see my husband, then they'll ask him about making a record, and that's another part of our life is we have a record studio in our house, and so it's really all about and then those conferences, right, are like opportunities to well, to network, to make friends, to put yourself out there, to feel the fear and do it anyway, all that cliche stuff. And I mean, some of it, like, I definitely don't do as many of those as I used to because there's not the space for me. In that, like, it may not be my year. I may
Mhm.
not have an album out, or the album may not be nominated. Like this year, my album Storm was not nominated for any Music Nova Scotia awards. It was nominated for East Coast Music Awards, but zero Music Nova Scotia Awards, which was the first year that an album of mine that I'd applied and paid the fee, which we all do.
Yep.
And yet it was like, by our standards, the biggest success. We'd worked the hardest, invested more money. None of the music videos got any nominations. That's not just as a complaint necessarily, but just to say that you never know. You can't rely on these things.
No.
So
No, but
yeah,
I wanted to
take
bring it up
yeah.
because I think it's really important and smart because I think you lead with confidence when you do things like that. And when you apply and you just say, yeah, I have a chance to win, and you cross your T's and you dot your I's, and you're bringing the right type of hype towards your project. And so much of music is creating this buzz and creating this hype around you so that people understand you're serious about your dreams and that you care deeply about it. So it
Yeah.
definitely, I think it's really cool and a good example. And the same thing with all your quotes. I worked really hard as well to acquire some quotes. But again, I'm going through your list. Oh my goodness me. She's just absolutely got so many amazing quotes here.
Well,
Uh,
those are I will say mostly from my publicist in the UK, Steve Rose, and it's really hard to find to get press anymore, and it's really hard to find a good publicist that your money you will feel like you're getting
you're getting
back.
yes, your money's worth.
And Steve,
Absolutely.
yeah, Measure PR is in London, and not only has become a dear friend, but has consistently every time I've worked his ass off. His team has worked, and they've shown up like nobody else has ever shown up for me in that realm. And I don't mean to shit on other people. I'm just saying he's really kicked ass.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Facts are facts, right? I mean, and giving kudos like that, there's nothing wrong with it. I want to ask you a few quick questions. You performed for Queen Elizabeth?
Yes, in 2000, I think it was 9, I was invited to perform on Parliament Hill as part of a big production. The Queen was there, and we performed like it was like a production. It was like, I can't remember this, there's a band, is it Parachute Club or something? And we sang a song. Oh my God, I can't remember it now, but we had to learn the parts and then walk out in the choreography for the Queen. And then we all lined up and she came and shook our hands. And then
Wow.
I was able to perform one of my songs in the evening, but she was gone to bed by then. But it was an incredible, like, I grew up, my, my family had, like, we had the magazines about the royal family and books, and it was a bit of an obsession. I think, I remember being at my grandma's and, like, she would give me money to go get the latest scoop on the royal family magazines or whatever. And so my grandma had passed at this time, both my grandparents actually on my mother's side. But I remember thinking my grandma would be this, like, she probably wouldn't get that I'm, why am I doing this singer-songwriter thing? But
Mhm.
then that would have made it for her, like, sealed the deal. Okay, I get this now, keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the dads in our band, he was kind of not disapproving, but never fully approving of his son's music playing, even though his son has a regular job and he's quite amazing as a person. But anyways, he wasn't all the way approving. And then we got to play 3 songs at an Ottawa Senators game at first intermission. We did 3 original songs, and we got to bring out people, our family, and put them in a box. And when they watched it, and then when we came up afterwards, the way he embraced his son and whatever he said to him made my bassist almost cry, because it's just like, sometimes you get to show people a moment where you're like, no, we really try hard. Like, we really are trying to go as far as we can in this world, and I think sometimes people just assume that artists pick artists because it's easy. And it's the farthest thing from the truth. It's the farthest thing away from it. But I know that I had family members who were like, oh, you're just taking the easy way or whatever this happened, now, God, however many years ago, like I said, 2009, I think I started trying to take it somewhat seriously after I'd been thrown out of theater school in 2008. Did you do, well, I saw you did a bunch of shows with Matt Mays, right?
Well, Matt, when I started taking things seriously, like you, so I did an album in Austin, but like I didn't know what I was doing, and it took me years to get back to, recording music again. And by that time I was back in Nova Scotia, and I met Matt Mays, and I was a fan of his music. And Matt's actually the reason why I met my husband, Dale Murray. And I made the second record, and Matt and El Torpedo had me open up for them I remember it was like a show at the Marquee Ballroom in Halifax. We did 2 nights. And I mean, his audience is they're just so incredible. I mean, he just attracts good vibes, right? And he puts that out there, and and it was so addictive, like that experience. Just so much love in the room and appreciation it was so much fun. And then, he had me open up, I think in Toronto at the Horseshoe another time. And there were a couple other up times where we shared the stage, I think. But, yeah, I'm a huge fan, and I'll just never forget that. He would pull me up on stage at certain shows they were doing at like the Kennard Center. And anytime we're around a town, like last year, there was a big fundraiser, or 2 years ago when we had the fires here in Nova Scotia, and then he invited Dale and I to come and just jump, get up and sing. And it's it's been very nice. He's very generous in that way. And yeah, so huge fan. And he was a guest on my podcast not long ago. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more music from Matt. And his bandmates too, like over the years, just really nice, great guys. And yeah.
When did you decide that you would be multi-genre? Because your pop, rock, folk, American traditions, I listened to the music and I'm blasting it in my headphones, and my mother walked by behind me, and she tapped me on the shoulder and she said, "Are you listening to CBC?" And I said, "No." And she said, "That sounds like a song from CBC." And I said, "Well, she is on CBC." I said, and her song's on Heartland. Like, a lot of musicians, they dream of having their music licensed. How amazing was it to hear your music on a show like that multiple times?
It's cool when you get the clip sent to you, or you like, sometimes I haven't heard all the places that I don't have a ton of placements, but I know the queen of song placements is a friend of mine, Megan Smith and Jason Mingo here in Nova Scotia. Just really, know what they're doing and dedicate themselves to that. They're just writing. They are very prolific writing machines, recording machines, and they have great relationships to help them get those spots. And they've done a lot of the work and networking themselves too. I have not done that much work, but I've tried over the years to partner with people that can help me. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it just takes a lot of time, or sometimes it doesn't work. But I gotta say, like the first placements I had were, I felt they were kind of by accident, where there was just somebody who was a music supervisor and they were doing a production, a joint CBC and UK production.
Mm.
And they were in Halifax and they went to Sam the Record Man and my CD was there. They picked a number of local CDs up, including mine. I got an email and said, "Hey, I'm placing songs and we're paying." Actually, it was good money back then. I think it was like 2,500 a song. I'd like to play
Mm.
2 of your songs, clips of them in this movie. And so, of course, I said yes, and that was my first big taste of like song placements. And then the royalties I'm still getting from that production are, they were not lovely in the beginning, but even now, residual royalties, like it's not nothing.
Yeah.
And so, but I watched the movie, and the first of my songs was like background while a mother and son were having a conversation in a car, so you couldn't really tell who it was, and whatever, I didn't care. I got the check. But the second one was like the two lead characters were having a fight, and my song was playing in the background, and the girl said, she's like, "And you listen to terrible music," and then she went and turned my song off. So
Oh.
so I thought it was hilarious that like this was my
Yeah.
first experience. Again, I don't care because
Your experience with acceptance still had to deal with rejection. And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
come on. Like,
yeah,
I just
can't
wanted
win.
to be all the arms wrapped around me and experience some love
Mm,
here.
not
Oh
always the
my
case, right? But
oh my gosh.
it was funny. It was funny. Then of course they didn't run that. I didn't need them to, but they did not run that by me. But it was a funny surprise. Yeah,
Did you
but
ever sorry, go ahead.
no. I probably just said but because
Okay. Well,
I just like saying the word but.
yeah, me too. Uh,
Mm.
but what I was gonna ask you is, did you ever work or on shows or like do shows at the same time with Joel Plaskett being out that way?
Well, I know Joel. Have we done shows together? I'm trying to think. I know we've been at the same festivals, and I've never opened for Joel or like. It's funny. We just did we did a friend Mike Campbell had a 70th birthday party, and we both got up and right after each other and did a tribute, like a cover song for Mike, who runs the Carlton, one of the best places to play in Halifax. The great listening room. That's the place you want to play if you're in Halifax and you want people to listen. And Mike will tell them to shut up and listen. But and we've done some festivals because we've hung out afterwards, like it's the accommodations and shit. But I haven't done a whole lot of. My husband Dale has played with Joel and played on his records. In fact, they opened for Paul McCartney. Uh, when Joel was opening for Paul McCartney and Dale got to play pedal steel, so that was cool. But of course, Joel's like he's a Canadian icon and beloved by everybody here.
So what happened is he's signed on and he just did a podcast. He just did Kingston Live with my friend who's a great photographer in Kingston. And I was like, dang it, because many years ago I was a part of his very first music video, at least his very first major music video. I was in Come On Teacher, but the director cut me. I got the part of the nerd, you see. So I was from a small town and I drove all the way up to Toronto and I auditioned and I beat 12 other gingers who looked just like me. And I was the nerdiest of the nerds. Teacher picked
It's
me. And so then
right.
in came the director and he was like, sorry, I'm using my friends. I brought my buddies today. They're going to be the nerds. So you're just going to be an extra. But Joel came and talked to all of us. He was like, this is my first video that's like, I've got a budget where we're like spending money and we've got actors and you guys are amazing. And he gave everyone CDs and he signed everything and just chatted with everyone there. And it was a great memory. And I was a high school kid. I would have been like 16 maybe, and
Yeah.
trying to get into the world of acting, into the world of entertainment. And it was a great first lesson in many ways. And thankfully, there was a very kind artist there who made it easier. So that's just why I was checking.
Oh, have you reached out to him to do this podcast?
I have not yet. I have not, but I very well may. I very well may try to.
Well, I will if you don't mind, I'd love to just send him an email and say, I just did this podcast with Warren and it was lovely and we had a very lovely memory. You know what I mean? I'll just like link,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
you never know. And then maybe, because he's wonderful, wonderful, kind.
It's such a cool memory, definitely, because I was just a little country boy driving in and out for auditions. And I tell people sometimes the auditions were ridiculous. It was like, okay, drool, you're going to drool on camera. And I was like, yeah, but this is a Casino Rama commercial. What do you mean drool? Well, you're the popcorn sales boy and you're super nerdy and you're falling asleep behind the counter. So you need to fall asleep and drool. Okay. All right. That's why I drove 5 hours today. I get it. And so the typecasting and learning about the typecasting pushed me more and more towards music and the freedom of creation and the freedom of writing my own characters and telling whatever story I felt like and that type of thing. I know it's
really we're pretty lucky in that we can do pretty much whatever we want to do. I mean, I know that's why I love it. And if you stop caring about what other people think or pleasing other people, it's even more fun,
Yeah. So you have some amazing shows coming up. You have one on September 30th, Halifax Urban Folk Festival. That says it's sold out. And
it
then
is that's Jimmy Rankin and Leroy Stagger, a song circle for Huff. Yeah.
Oh, and then October 4, 5, 6, you're in New Brunswick. I love playing in New Brunswick, although I'll bet you my show was a little bit different experience than yours is. I showed up and it was a Hells Angels breakfast fundraiser.
Ooh.
And we didn't know. We just thought it was a breakfast fundraiser. But then we got there and there was like the police were doing the cooking for the dinner. And then, this was in Edmundston. This was right just over the border.
I know Edmundston. Yeah.
This was in Edmundston, New Brunswick. And we played at a venue as well there that's since burnt down. So, I love New Brunswick. Great, great place. My memory is probably a little bit different, but I mean, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I grew up there. We've had a lot of situations growing up in Grand Falls, not far from Edmundston, actually, and partying on the Bennett Bridge and under the bridge. And but that's pretty funny that the cops were doing the cooking at that.
Yep. And the two bosses were the only ones wearing their vests. Everyone else was like going around doing their own thing, but not vest. And they did a fashion show to raise money. And clearly the girls who were at the fashion show, they were dancers. And because at the end of the night, they were going to these two guys who were the head of the HA for all of New Brunswick. And they were going over these two guys getting their payment or whatever it was at the end of the night. And, for me, I'd already driven a very far distance. I was going to get on stage and I was going to perform, even though there was a web of connectors of, it was not properly set up. I was on the back of a truck, like a trailer, big, long trailer truck bed, it was,
wow,
it was something else. Anyways, I want to thank Christina Martin so much for coming on the podcast today. I want you all to go to the links that I put below and stream the heck out of her music videos, like, comment, share, get into it. Go see her live if you're down that way. And when she comes back this way, go see her live. And just thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you, Warren. You're obviously really great at this. And I'm going to spend some more time. Hey, listeners, make sure you check out Warren's music and I'll do all the liking and sharing and reviews because, podcast hosts really appreciate the reviews too. So make sure you show him all the love because, he's clearly putting a lot of himself into it.
Heart
so thank
thing.
you.
I think artists do this now. They do this heart thing.
Some
people are like, no, I won't do the heart thing. I'll never be seen, but I don't care.
Right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the heart.
I didn't even my whole arm is throbbing. I just got a new tattoo today.
Beautiful. That's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
The bird, yes. Yeah. Is that like a little Edgar Allan Poe going on with that there? A little
well, I don't know, maybe.
It reminded me of quote the Raven Nevermore.
Yeah, well, it's has tied into my latest album artwork. But I do love that poem.
Cool. All right. Thank you again to Christina Martin. Thank you
Thanks,
out
Warren.
there for listening, watching, and we will see you all again next time on All Worn Out.
Out.
Bye, everybody.